Hello, it's Radicake and Duck, and we're doing the VTID Season 2 draft analysis.
Yo, already with the fuck ups.
Yeah, so we just kind of went over each team. We didn't take coaches into account. We just looked at the teams and gave them ratings based on how we thought they were. So let's hop right into it. So first we have Archfiend. I gave Archfiend an A minus. You gave them a B plus. Do you want to start off with why you gave him a B plus?
Uh, Mostly I gave him a B plus because his team is really slow. Like outside of Lycanroc, Absol, and to an extent Thunderous, there's he's not going to be outspeeding his opponent, and he doesn't have a lot of walls or stally monsters to make use of that. So I feel like unless he plays really cleverly, just he's gonna be lacking in the speed department. He isn't gonna be able to pull off sweeps, and that's just holding him back.
Yeah, so some of the notes I have, Archfiend has a very solid, bulky offense team, but also does kind of miss in the speed tiers, I would say, because if I'm right, it's Thunderous and Lycanroc Day are both like 111 speed, and Mega Absol is 115, but then he doesn't have, Archfiend doesn't have anything between, I don't even know, but like I think like 80 and like 115, so it's really easy for their opponents to be like, oh, I'm not going to outspeed anything, I'll just throw it into some bulk, or like to perfectly outspeed stuff. So I can see Archfiend being forced to run Scarf a lot, which can be kind of rough. I said this before about Cap. In like the last league I was in, I used a very bulky offense team that wasn't the fastest, and like with a Scarf, if you just switch up who it is each week, it does really well. Also, Archfiend has Licky Licky, which if Archfiend can even use it like half as well as MX did last season, I think can just use that really well to keep things like Conkeldurr, Heatran alive, and just like win some games with some very solid bulky offense.
Yeah. One thing, like I'm not knocking bulky offense as a playstyle. It's my favorite playstyle, but I just don't see how this functions as like a cohesive bulky offense team. Because the one thing I see that it's really, really lacking is good pivots. Like there's Grand Bull for Intimidate, but other than that, he doesn't have much. He just has Pokemon that have to switch in, and take a hit. And like you mentioned, with his speed tiers going from above base 110 to 80 and below, then it's a lot of mons are going to be able to pack Adamant and Modest, which kind of negates his bulk to an extent, where things are just hitting harder because he doesn't have those speed tiers to support himself.
Yeah, I think one thing that could help with that is Serena. Like, I think it might have Wish. I know it has U-turn. It's
It
bulky,
doesn't
but
have Wish.
oh, it doesn't. Yeah, but it's like has U-turn. It's a little bulkier. But yeah, I can see that being a problem with mostly since people know how it's coming around.
Yeah, it's definitely a solid team if you can work around the flaws. Like Licky Licky and Grand Bull are really helping to support this team. They're great lower tier choices. It's just going to be a bit of a struggle, so I don't think it's quite worthy of an A rating.
Yeah, I guess one thing I was gonna say is I was very surprised Licky Licky lasted as long as it did because last season it got defensive MVP. It was an absolute monster, and it fell pretty late. Archfiend picked it up.
Anyway, next one.
Okay, yeah, let's go on to the next one. So next is X Capital. I gave Cap a B plus. You gave Cap a B minus. So I guess I'll start this time. Um, First of all, I do really like the Firewater Grass Core Cap has going here of Volcarona, Primarina, and Superior. Superior is very good in League. Volcarona can be iffy. That's one problem I see with this team is the fact that doesn't have a Rapid Spinner, I don't think it has a Rapid Spinner, doesn't have too much for removal, but does have Espeon, which can really help with that magic bounce. I think Cap chose good mons as the Z mons, which some of the other coaches I'm a little iffy on. Volcarona and Garchomp can do so much with that, and I think it's just kind of a nice range with like that solid core.
Alright, you said Superior was great in League, and I'm legitimately not memeing when I say this, but I think Servine is better. Because Servine has Defog this gen and access to Eviolite, it's able to run bulkier, which means it's not so limited to just running offensive contrary sets like standard Superior is pretty much forced to. Like, I know it does have other options, but they're just quite frankly not good.
Yeah.
So even though Servine is a bit of a joke Pokemon, I honestly think it's better than Superior in League format, just because I feel like it can do more. On to talking about like the team in general. One thing I noticed is that he has Muck Alola, which is a fantastic Pursuit Trapper, and then he complements that with Passimian, which is a really mediocre fighting type. Like, I feel like if you're gonna get a Pursuit Trapper that's as good as Alolan Muck, you're gonna want to get a top tier fighting type to go along with that, because that's like a match made in heaven right there. Getting rid of Psychics and Ghosts so that your fighting type can sweep late game.
Yeah.
So I don't see what Passimian is bringing to this team other than just a token fighting type. Another thing, Mega Beedrill, my opinion, not a good Mega because it's so one note. Like, you basically have one coverage option.
Yeah.
Which is Drill Run. So it's so one note, doesn't do anything. Well, it does stuff, but it's predictable.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, the team is definitely looking solid. Gligar getting the buff in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. Garchomp is always a solid Pokemon. I'm noticing a bit of an ice weakness. He does have Primarina and Jirachi, but in my eyes, Primarina isn't a Pokemon you want to be switching in repeatedly. And Jirachi being forced to always run defensive to kind of counter those ice types, which are super common, is not the best for Jirachi, because it definitely wants to shine offensively.
Yeah.
I'm just not even going to mention Pyukumuku because that's a garbage mon.
Yeah, I think that's kind of I guess I'll mention it a little bit. It's a weird pick because I believe Cap already had Primarina. And I get that. I think at the time, Cap didn't really have a wall, but I don't know if I'd really consider Pyukumuku a wall. But yeah, so overall, I'm really interested to see how most like these first two teams, because I think they're teams that can be decent if played right, but like are definitely going to take a little more thinking to play right.
Yeah, I think these first two teams are like, they have a lot of really high points and a lot of really low points, and trying to compensate those, downsides to bring the team up to its highest potential. It's going to be a bit of a challenge, but if it can be pulled off, we got definitely solid teams that could be top contenders.
Yeah.
Of course, Capital is the coach of this team, so it's going to go like, how many weeks are we doing? 15? He's going to go 3 and 12.
Yeah.
That's my prediction right here.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how, I guess, even though we'll get into it later, this year, to me, the teams were a lot more even. Like, there were a couple that were, like, really good to me, but I felt like they were a lot more even. Besides, there are some teams that, I mean, you heard me when I saw something happen in the draft. I was not happy about something, and I'm going to bring it up later. But, yeah. So, I guess with that, we're done with Cap. We'll just move on to the next one, which is Zombie. I gave Zombie an A. You gave Zombie an A. Do you want to take this one first?
Yeah, sure. Looking at this team for a second time, I'm honestly not sure why I didn't rate it higher. This team seems to have everything I like in a team going for it. Firewater Grass Core of Celebi, Arcanine, and Manaphy, that is really, really good. Nice and bulky, the way I feel a Firewater Grass Core should be, but also packing some pretty awesome offense with Manaphy, Celebi, and Arcanine. All three of them work as both offensive and defensive mons. Then you got the Fairy Dragon Steel of Goodra, Clefable, and Mega Scizor, which is, again, just fantastic bulk and power combined. Like, those 6 mons alone are just enough to get this team up a really good rating. And the supporting mons, the not as high tier pick ones and the ones that aren't comprising the cores, they're also really good as well. Tornadus Eye isn't amazing, but it still hits hard with, like, Hurricane. Prankster Tailwind, those are always fun. Pangoro's not a bad mon. It works wonders in good matchups. but it's really, really slow. Like, even with the Scarf, it's bad. But in certain matchups, it can absolutely run house. Mismagius is always a strong Pokemon if your opponent doesn't prep well for it. Mudsdale, I haven't seen anything good done with Mudsdale, but who knows? You know, I feel like that's the one dud on this team. Rotom Frost, definitely not the best Rotom, but all Rotoms are good in my eyes, especially now that it has Defog.
Yeah, that's a huge buff for Rotom.
I mean, Rotom Frost being weak to rocks kind of sucks, but I mean, Defog is still Defog.
Yeah, and I guess like the good thing is like Arcanine is, but that has recovery. Rotom Frost is like there's not much on his like Zombie doesn't seem to be too worried about rocks with this team, for the most part, I'd say. But yeah,
plus he has Mega Scizor, which is one of the best defoggers in the game.
Yeah, and just having another one so you don't have to run defog on Scizor is just nice for when the matchup works for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I also gave it A. Yeah, the first thing I noticed was that Fire, Water, Grass core. Celebi can obviously be, or not obviously, like sometimes Celebi is sometimes a little iffy. Those like 4 times weak bonds in League, when people know it's coming, they can prep for it, but it still is a fantastic mon. Manaphy is one of my favorite mons in League. Especially like a Z Rain Dance can just sweep so easily. Arcanine also is a phenomenal one. I really like the Dragon Steel Fairy Core. Mega Scizor and Clefable are like 2 of the best of each of their types. Goodra, I'm a little iffy on, but it's still a very solid mon that packs a punch. To me, Mudsdale actually, I think Mudsdale when it comes, it's not gonna like absolutely blow out the opponent, but I think it's not going to be something that's going to like hinder them. I don't see it getting tons of kills, but I can see it just putting in like a lot of chip over time with Earthquakes with like its insanely high attack stat. But we'll see.
Yeah, the thing I like about Mudsdale is it's a ground type, so what I like to do with ground types in League format is to just use them as your check to electric types, because electric types can be just so threatening. And the good thing about Mudsdale is it's so bulky that, you know, if you're switching in ground types recklessly into electric types, you're going to take an HP Ice or 2, and Mudsdale has the bulk to do that, which is what I really like about it. So even though I feel like it's the dud of the team, it's a very shiny dud. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, because ground type, it's just so good. I guess the one thing to me that this team is kind of missing that kept it from being an A+ for me is maybe like a solid electric type, just because electric types are also so good, especially when matched with a good ground type. But overall, like, yeah, this team is one of my favorites. I was extremely close to putting it to an A+, but it seems to just slightly be lacking some speed, like some of the really high stats, but like overall I don't think it's like a problem too much for Zombie.
Yeah, this team is lacking the really high speed tiers, but it's not as noticeable as with Ark's team because his speed tiers are more layered, like there's not just a huge gap between them. So it's not as noticeable as a flaw.
Yeah, so you have to really plus he has things like Manaphy that can get +1 speed really easily, Scizor with priority, like things that help make up for that really low speed.
Yeah.
So I guess, do you have anything else to say about Zombie?
No, I'd say we move on.
Okay. Yep. So next we had Devin. We both gave this B's. So I guess I'll go first. I like Mega Gardevoir. That's a very solid one. I gave this a B because overall, like, nothing really stands out to me. As in, like, I've used Volcanion before. I think I've kind of said this. I'm not a fantastic battler, so maybe that's why. But Volcanion just doesn't seem to quite meet expectations. Like, it hits really hard, but it's just not quite bulky enough, usually, or whatnot. And I just felt like, I guess I didn't look at the draft order, so Devin might have had a later pick, but I felt like there was a lot of other tier 1 picks that were kind of higher up. And yeah, as I said, Volcanion just never seems to quite meet expectations to me. Ferrothorn, obviously a very solid mon. Lycanroc Dusk, I haven't seen in Draft League, but like, not as great. That Incineroar does have its hidden ability, so it'll have Intimidate, which is really good for it, and I'm really excited to see that. But overall, like, nothing on this team really just stands out as phenomenal to me. Hydreigon's another one that people always say like it's one of the best in League formats, but I never see it quite doing enough damage or anything for it to be like top tier.
See, my problem with Hydreigon isn't that its damage output isn't good enough, but like it's surprisingly slow.
Yeah, to me it doesn't have it doesn't peak. It's just a little too average. Like it can kind of take a hit, can't really. It doesn't just like completely blow someone out. It doesn't like outspeed their entire team. And people like Hydreigon and InferNathan, which I'll get to later. People always hype up as being like two of the best in draft league formats, but I just don't really agree with that.
I mean, InferNathan is good though.
Yeah,
We can talk about that later though.
Yeah.
So my thoughts on this team is there's a lot of wall breakers, but nothing to take advantage of that. Like Volcanion, Mega Gardevoir, and Hydreigon, any walls the opponent has, they're going to be busted right on through. But the only Pokemon that really takes advantage of that is Lycanroc and to an extent Mimikyu, but even then, not really. It's another fairly slow team, with the fastest Pokemon being Raichu, which 110 isn't that bad, but Raichu is not the best Mon. I don't feel like he's going to be bringing it every week, so it's, again, going to be fairly safe for opponents to just bring Adamant and Modest Natures. More bulk where it's needed. That's why just speed tiers are so important, just being able to control your investment. It's really not something you want to slack on, which is what some of these earlier teams have been doing. There's also Komala, which is just a bad Pokemon. Devin likes to think that he's like Jesus for thinking up Choice Band Sleep Talk, and that's just going to pull out the wrong move, and then he's going to lose a match.
Yeah.
Like we all know the meme of Duck Luck, but I wouldn't be relying on something as unreliable as that.
Yeah.
There's also Dusclops, which I feel like is bringing nothing to the table, honestly.
Yeah, like this team, it has wall breakers. For the most part, all special attacker, like wall breakers, has some. Honestly, I might move this one down more as I think about it. Like a couple ratings. It doesn't have any like true walls. Like Gastrodon kind of is, but has a 4 times weakness. I guess Ferrothorn is, but like 2 4 times weakness walls, so it can kind of deal with that. It's just, as I said earlier, it's all just too average and doesn't really like his mons don't peak in certain areas quite enough.
There's also Mimikyu, and I just don't like Mimikyu. I've never seen that thing put in work.
Yeah, I'm interested. I know like it got its new Z move, which is pretty good, but like I haven't. Honestly,
it's not a good Z move though. It's a slightly more powerful Twinkle Tackle.
Yeah, I haven't been keeping like this Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Like with some of the new stuff, I'm not like too updated with it, so I guess I don't know exactly. But yeah, we'll see how it does.
Yeah. So moving on.
Yep. Next we have Pesky Skitty. We both have A minuses for this one. I guess I'll start with it then. Pesky has not said his Z-Mons yet, so we don't have that up. But a couple things. I like this team a lot. I didn't know too much about... I'm not even going to try. The first Mon he drafted, his tier 1.
Blacephalon?
Yes, that one. I really like it. I was kind of skeptical, and then I was playing some Showdown today to try to like figure out some of the new mons and what's going on, and that thing is a force to be reckoned with. So I really like that as a tier 1. Got Mega Latios, which can hit really hard. I know I kind of crapped on it last season in the post-draft rankings, but it can do pretty well. Zapdos is very good. This is another one that has a solid... Firewater Grass Core of Blasphon. Okay. Yes, that one. Suicune and like Breloom. Yeah, I think overall it's just a fairly solid team. Has Fortress, which is nice. Normal Greninja, which can like do a surprising amount of work also.
Yeah, definitely providing that good speed tier.
Yeah, so do you have anything about this team?
Uh, I mainly ranked it so high purely because of Megalodios. That thing is just a monster. Like, it really is. You talked about a lot of the strengths, so I'll go over the weaknesses for a bit. Fortress looks to be his main form of hazard. Actually, I can't even say that. Megalodios, Zapdos. I don't know. Fortress is just there, and I don't like Fortress. I had it last season. It doesn't do its job. It's so easy to stop it from getting up hazards. That 4 times weakness and abysmal special defense just it puts it to shame. Uh, Pseudo Wudo not doing anything for this team. It's just there. I mean, yeah, it can hit hard with like head smash. Does it? I don't even know if it gets head smash, but it gets Rockhead Woodhammer. That's a cool little niche, but I really don't see it doing anything. I doubt there'll be ever an opportunity to bring it. Slacking. We all know what slacking does.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the Fire Water Grass core that you mentioned, mainly because I'm really skeptical of Breloom. Like, I've seen it put in just absolutely tons of work, and I've also seen it just do nothing because it's so slow. It definitely hits hard if given the opportunity to do so, but its speed really holds it back, and its bulk isn't making up for that at all. Suicune, though, is an absolutely great mon. I love seeing that thing. Piloswine, surprisingly bulky, gets up rocks very reliably. Even has Endeavor if it does get low on HP. Aromatisse is a fantastic fairy type, wish passing, serving as a great cleric. And the other stuff you've mentioned, it's definitely a solid team. Has some flaws, but definitely not enough to hold it back from being in the higher tiers.
Yeah, this team, I've said this, I think, kind of before in previous videos. Having a mon like Fortress, where it's like so crucial with that hazard mover, especially with that mon that I'm not even going to try to say again, his tier 1, being weak to rocks, having a mon that crucial to your team, just like if you want to set up your own hazards also, that's 4 times weak to something, is just like a huge just like detriment, especially when that and Breloom both are 4 times weak to something and have low special defense, so they can just run like a hidden power. That's always pretty rough, but it's mostly those top 4 mons you see of Megalodios, Mon I can't say, Suicune, and Zapdos that make this such a great team.
Yeah, actually just thinking about it even more, I see no purpose for Fortress on this team whatsoever. The one niche it serves is Spikes, which, considering his good hazard removal in Latios and Zapdos, are both defoggers. So those spikes aren't staying up. And he also has, if he wants a Rapid Spinner, he's going to have to use Fortress for that. And Fortress doesn't have the survivability to be a Spiker and a Rapid Spinner. You really got to pick one. So, Pesky, if you're watching this, drop Fortress, pick up a better Seal type. You can do it.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have anything else to say about Pesky, or should we just move on?
I don't know, let's move on.
So next we have Captain Sebasaur. I gave them a B+, you gave them an A-. You can start, and then I'll go over why I gave it a little lower.
Alright, so the most notable thing I saw when looking at this team was the wall breakers of Tapu Bulu and Chandelure. And then he's using those to support his sweepers like Alakazam, Crocodile, even to an extent Latias, which I feel is a really good thing to do. Like, a lot of people draft wall breakers without actually considering like what on their team needs to have a wall broken. And Seb, I don't know if he did it intentionally or if it just happened to work out that way, but it worked out. The most notable thing being Mega Alakazam and Chandelure pairing up pretty well. Alakazam has to rely on a very, very reliable Focus Blast in order to break through Steel types, but having Chandelure to take care of that for him is just great for Mega Alakazam. It's also Tapu Bulu breaking through bulky waters, which Mega Alakazam can struggle with a little bit. And I mentioned Crocodile earlier. It's also a good sweeper with Moxie. Yeah. Oh wow, I just had a massive brain fart. But yeah, it's a good team. Supporting wall breakers with sweepers and late game cleaners, and that's just great. I see Magnezone on this team. I'm not a big fan of Magnezone. I feel like it's really, really situational, and I don't feel there's ever a big worth in drafting it. If you really need steals taken care of, then yeah, I guess it pairs well with Tapu Bulu, who struggles a lot with steals. Kangaskhan, Wish Passer, unconventional, but I like it. Archeops, in my opinion, it's better Aerodactyl. Bit of a controversial statement right there, but Hitmontop, tried and true. It's a good Pokemon. Tested. It's been used so many times, so it's well tested. It stands up. It does what it needs to. Great Pokemon there. Toxapex, it can definitely be a problem for some teams. I've never seen it putting in a huge amount of work, but it has a good typing, good stats. Just definitely got to play right with it. So what do you got to say about it?
Yeah, I agree. I really like Tapu Bulu. It does have. Hopefully, you could not hear my neighbors in the background. They just started having like a jam sesh.
Oh man.
So it's Tapu Bulu. Such a great mod, especially with Z. Like Z Woodhammer in grassy terrain does, even just normal Woodhammer does so much damage. Like it is insane. Like Hornleech for the ability to recover. It does get like superpower to help deal with some of those fighting types it's a fighting type move that helps deal with some of the steel types that people think will stop it. And like overall, I love Tapu Bulu. I've used it before and I think it's a great mod. Crocodile, I think, is absolutely phenomenal with two great abilities, Intimidate, right? Or Moxie. Like it can just do so much. I do like Toxapex, especially on this team. It gives Seb just one solid wall that does so much and is just such a pain to deal with. And yeah, I really like this team. However, like I did give it a little lower. I think that it does have Hitmontop, which I don't even know if I'd really consider a wall, but like it's a nice utility pivot mon. But Toxapex seems to be the only like true wall that can really take hits on this team. That's why it's a little lower. Tapu Bulu like doesn't have great special defense. Like you can run Assault Vest, which is like really good, but some like HP grasses or no HP poisons or whatnot can kind of shred through it. But overall, yeah, I think it's a very solid team. As you said, it has finally those sweepers to go along with the wall breakers, and the wall breakers can do a lot. Chandelure is a mon that I'm kind of mixed on. I don't know. I just like sometimes it'll just like absolutely sweep and win games for me, but a lot of times it doesn't do too much. But I'm also trash, so that's probably why.
All right, so I want to talk about Tapu Bulu for a second because you mentioned how hard it hits. I was doing a battle today, and I was fighting some guy who was hardcore playing stall. I had a burned Assault Vest Tapu Bulu. I had barely any attack investment. I wood-hammered a Clefable. It did 44. And that's burned with no investment. It wasn't no investment, but it was very little.
Yeah.
So that's just a test to the power that Tapu Bulu is packing. I know I was trash-talking Magnezone a little bit before, but I just realized that thing gets dual screens. And Seb can kind of run this as a sort of hyper-offense team, which really loves dual screens. So if you want me to like your team more, Seb, dual screens Magnezone, make it happen.
Yeah, Bulu at first I was kind of iffy on it, but like it has become one of my favorite mons of this generation. Yeah, I think this team, I think it'll do solid. I think this is one of the ones that for me, it's on the edge of a B plus and an A minus, and it's just to me some of those like, honestly, I'm not a huge fan of Archeops, like Celigor or Kangaskhan. Kind of not Chandelure isn't my favorite either, so that's kind of why I bumped it down. But like Seb's top mons are extreme.
I mean, I feel the same about Excelgor to an extent. Like if Seb's looking to switch out a Pokemon, definitely get rid of Excelgor. But Archeops, it's just so good. Like It hits hard, it gets up rocks very reliably, it's a great lead. And Kangaskhan is just like licky but slightly less powerful, or slightly less bulky but more power. Like, I feel like if every week that Seb brings it, it's going to be a Wish Passer.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's move on.
Okay, so next we have Nathan. And this one's kind of interesting because I gave him an A. You gave it a B+. This one is honestly on the edge of like an A+ to me. This one, and I think it was like Zombies, are my two favorite teams. But yeah, so I'll just hop into it right away why I like this team so much. Victini is one of my favorite mons in League format. It hits extremely hard in special and physical offense. Tapu Fini, I think, was like the best mon in tier 2. And to have Victini and Tapu Fini paired up with Sceptile is alright, like it's not like great, but like those two I absolutely love. Cobalion, I'm kind of surprised Cobalion is not a Z-mon because in the, I think it was last season of the GBA, Z Cobalion was like the lead killer just because it does so much work. Porygon Z without Z conversion, a little iffy, but like that thing can hit really hard and allow some of his other things like Mega Manectric to break through. I said earlier I really like strong, especially fast and hard hitting electric types, so I really like Manectric. Salamence is, so Victini is maybe my number 1 in draft. Salamence is right up there at 1 or 2. It's so versatile and just does so much, can just do so much work either offensively or defensively. And yeah, I just love this team through. I didn't give it an A+ because it is lacking some bulk. It has Tapu Fini, which can be bulky, it has Salamence, which can be defensive, but it's definitely lacking some bulk. But if you look at Pesky's team last year, it was basically a hyper offense team that ran through people, and this team has some solid setup plus just some solid right off the bat. I guess the only thing I would have liked to see was probably maybe like Z Cobalion over Z Victini.
Alright, so I guess I gotta come in and trash talk this team for a bit now. No, this team does have some elements that I really like. Regirock is a great Pokemon. I feel like it's an absolute steal because it's always in the low tiers and it's always just so good. Mega Manectric is one of my favorite Megas to use. It's a fantastic pivot and it pairs up really well with Victini. Being it's a wall breaker that's hitting on the physical side, so it's able to smash through those special walls that give Mega Manectric such a hard time. I feel, the key to this team is being able to successfully use Mega Manectric. And, I feel like that's all teams with Mega Manectric, honestly, because it can be a Pokemon that's just so good and will run through your opponent's team every time, or it can be a Pokemon that sits there and does nothing, and it all just depends on how you use it. And I feel pairing Victini up with that is it's such a good choice. I also mentioned the Salamence. As long as you don't do what Wolf does and use it defensively every single week, that's a great Pokemon. Don't be afraid of Dragon Dance. It's a good move. Click that button every now and then. Porygon Z, definitely a good Pokemon. Hitting hard, Hyper Beam, kill something, get a free kill. And one thing I really want to see is Scolipede speed passing into that Porygon Z, because good night if that happens to you.
Honestly,
mainly what I don't like about this team is the Raticate and the Weasel. Like, Weasel's a great mon. I love that thing. It's adorable, but you're not bringing it to competitive play. Raticate Alola, 1, isn't doing anything, and 2, is infinitely inferior to Cantonian Raticate. I love Kanto Raticate, but no, you gotta pick the bad one.
Hey.
So it just feels like I feel like you tried to pick up too many meme Pokemon, and he's playing from the back because of that. His team isn't as big, not as diverse, and it's gonna be more predictable. That's about my thoughts on it.
At least his, like, what is it, Buzo is not a Z-Mon. That's all I'm gonna say for later. Just kidding. Anyways, yeah, I agree. Like, although I do think that Salamence can be one of, like one of my friends, Wolverine. He was in the beginning of last season. He ran, I think it was, he ran basically defensive Salamence, different defensive Salamances, but basically defensive Salamence almost every single week. And then I remember he got to the finals game and ran a Dragon Dance set, and it was like immediately swept just because the person's like, oh, he runs defensive every week, and it was phenomenal to see. But yeah, I agree with some of the lower ones, like Raticate. I don't know where you would ever bring that Mon. Sceptile, I think that Mon can have its uses, but isn't phenomenal. For me, it's mostly just the sort of like offensive core of his Fairy Steel Dragon, plus Victini, and mostly Victini, kind of Manectric is like what makes me absolutely love this team.
Yeah, like, I feel like if you're gonna pick those really low bottom of the barrel picks, you gotta have a reason behind it. Simply picking it for the meme isn't doing you any good. You're either picking a bottom of the barrel Pokemon for a good type coverage, for a good type combination, or just the ability to get up a niche support option, like say you needed a Spiked Mon with Rapid Spin, something like that. Or a Pokemon that needed both Defog and Rapid Spin for whatever reason. Maybe you're going to pick up Delibird. I don't know. Yeah. Or you're picking it for a niche sweeper option, which I feel like Sceptile kind of fits the role of as an unburdened sweeper. Give that thing a Lychee Berry, Pitaya Berry, something like that. It can definitely run house. So I don't think Sceptile is as bad as you're making it out to be, but Weasel and Raticate are definitely just there to be meme picks. Raticate's not even a good meme.
Yeah. No, like, that's cool. What I kind of meant by it with Sceptile is, I think when it comes, if Nathan chooses the right times to bring it, it can do very well. But there's also, like, some games, I'm assuming it just won't come because it doesn't always do much. But yeah, like, it can be kind of scary once it sets up.
Yeah, and not every Pokemon needs to be coming every week, you know. Yeah. There are definitely some Pokemon who are good at their roles of just coming to 1 or 2 games and doing what they need to do.
And honestly, like, those top, like, 4 to 5 Mons, I can honestly see, because Tapu Fini maybe not quite as much, maybe not as much Mega Manectric, but especially Victini and Salamence are so versatile. Like, they can bring those every week. Nathan can bring those every week, and the person they're facing won't know what they are if Nathan is smart with, like, constantly switching the sets, bringing what's good for the opponent, and just making it really hard to figure out.
Yeah, definitely. So you want to move on?
Yep. I thought we can move on. Hammy, we both gave this C pluses.
I guess I'll start with this one. I like this team. I really like it. It's just not good. Mega Slowbro? I love Mega Slowbro. I recently used it in a different league. I lost every game. But I love Mega Slowbro. Drampa is one of my favorite Pokemon. I know in the off-season draft analysis, I actually said that Drampa was my favorite Pokemon of all time. That's not quite true, but it's definitely a solid number 3. Thundurus Therian hits like a truck. I also had that in that other league, which I lost every game in. Tyranitar's a great Pokemon. Absolutely fantastic. It's so versatile. It's so bulky. It hits so hard. Even with a Choice Scarf, it can be fast enough to outspeed the things you need it to. So I definitely feel like that's a solid pick. I just realized I'm talking really fast. Entei, another great Pokemon. It's a Z user, so Z Sunny Day. I think I got swept by that last season. This is just me talking about how bad I am. I had Sandslash last season. I lost almost every game with that too. I'm gonna stop talking about how bad I am at this. And yeah, this is a team I really like. I like the Mons on this team, but it's just straight up not good.
Yeah, so I guess I'll go why I gave this one of my lower rankings. I gave it a C+. Like, to me, like, none of the teams in this league are terrible. I almost gave someone an F just for one thing, but I didn't. Like, this team is just it's not up to the level of the other teams. I said this about like Tyranitar kind of can be, or definitely is, but he's to me just kind of lacking those mons that just go in like some of the like when I think of like some of the Ultra Beast or like kind of I don't even know what they're called, like the event mons that people will get, kind of like Victini, that can just come in and wreak havoc. Like Tyranitar can, especially after like a Dragon Dance or Scarfed, but it's just not quite on the level as some of the other ones to me. I do really like Entei being a Zmon. I kind of would have preferred, I guess, Thunderous T, because that was something I used in the last league I was in. For once, I know I've said I'm trash. I was actually undefeated in this league at the point before people stopped playing battles, but it was like 6-7 in. And like Z Thunderous, it just allows it to knock out so much more with like a Z Dark Pulse or a Z like Fang or whatever you need it to cover. But yeah, overall, like this is just a team that it's one of those two average teams to me. Sand Slash, I guess if it's like one of your last picks, picking it up when you have Tyranitar. But like it's just, I guess it has Rapid Spin. It can go with the Tyranitar, but it's just not phenomenal.
Sand Slash is a good mon. It has good support options. Like
Yeah.
it can run house with an Assault Vest. It gets access to Rapid Spin, so it can be a bulky spinner. Super Fang for breaking down walls. Definitely not a bad pick.
Yeah, but yeah, I think overall this mon just doesn't have, as I've said with some of the other, like most of my low ones, they just don't have those really high, mostly for this one, kind of everything. Has Mega Slowbro Great Wall-ish. I guess it kind of lacks, I guess Steelix is, but kind of like lacks in some of the other wall areas, like with recovery outside of Slowbro. Crobat can be run defensive, but overall, like this team, it just doesn't have the super offensive, doesn't have the super good walls. It's just kind of a weird mix of the middle to me.
Yeah, the team's definitely lacking like a star player, and I feel a lot of teams are going to be able to easily exploit that and be able to have prep a lot easier. Like I feel like each team should really have one Pokemon that's an overwhelming threat that the opponent needs to consider, or else they're going to be able to just run good sets. They're never going to have to sacrifice something for the sake of countering your star Pokemon. And since this team just doesn't have a star other than maybe Tyranitar, which that's not a... I wouldn't consider it, a star player.
Yeah.
So I just feel like it's gonna make people be able to prep so much easier, and he's gonna be playing from the back. Saying
Yeah.
a lot. Wow, I need to stop criticizing myself in the middle of a video.
Yeah, so kind of like Nathan, going back to Nathan's team, Nathan had Victini and Salamence. Those are two mons that you usually have to dedicate like multiple mons for, whereas Hammy, like honestly, everything on Hammy's team, you can basically, for the most part, counter with one mon. Like you can just dedicate, or not even like have to dedicate, but usually sort of dedicate one mon to taking on like this mon, whereas you don't have to dedicate half your team to one mon for any of his the Pokemon on his team. And I think that'll just really hurt him, because it'll allow people to run a lot more of like what they want to run and like offensively like do what they need to do to take out his team overall, rather than focusing on one.
Yeah, plus Thunderous T should have been a Z user over Mienshao. I don't think Mienshao's a good Z user.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know. Like, I've seen people use it well. I'm not a huge fan of Mienshao. I get why it's really good. It doesn't die. It's really annoying. It can hit decently hard. I just am not, the biggest fan of it in general, especially as a Zmon over Thunderous, which is, in my opinion, a very good one.
Yeah, so moving on.
Yep. So now we have MX. I guess I can start talking about what I don't like about this team, so then you can bring him up at the end. MX, I gave a B-. I brought this up earlier. I think, especially in a Tier 1, I get that MX was later in the draft, so there were not a ton of Tier 1 picks left. I just don't think that InferNathan is up to the level of many of the other Tier 1 mons. And yeah, it is a good Zmon. I agree with that. I just don't see it being up with the other ones. So I'm not a huge fan of that to start. Milotic is a good wall, but it's it's a pretty great wall, but it's just still not quite at the level of some of the other ones. That's what, to me, most of MX's team is, it's a good mon, but there's something better than it often in like the same tier, and that's why I gave it a B plus. Just like part of his overall, it's not a team I would want to use. Mega Altaria I like, but for some reason it just never seems to quite get the job done, in my opinion. Glasgow is very good, especially for a tier 2. I do like that one. I think it was tier 2. But like just a lot of this team, like InferNathan, I definitely think there's quite a bit better tier 1, even though I think he was one of the like bottom 3 picks. Milotic, I don't know. I think overall there's just better choices for almost all of his mons in certain spots. I do really like Registeel though. I'm just gonna end with that.
I think it's my turn to step in and disagree with you, because I think InferNathan is a fantastic Pokemon in draft format, being one of the few amazing mixed attackers. It has a great speed tier. It's not the best, like... Okay, just for clarification, my idea of a really good speed tier is 110 or above. So InferNathan doesn't quite hit that, but it's still good enough to outspeed, like, most things. And being able to be a really competent special attacker just makes it so scary and so difficult to prep for. Because you think you're going to be getting hit by flare blitzes at close combat, so you bring all your physical walls. And then what are you going to do to a fire blast or a focus blast? And it's just so scary in that regard, because you don't know how to prep for it. Like, you're going to have to make some wild predictions, and if you're wrong, your team has a very high chance of just being shredded by InferNathan. Moving on to the rest of the team, Mega Altaria is in the same boat of being just a really good mixed attacker that you can't really predict. It has a phenomenal Dragon Dance set with a great defensive typing that allows it to set up, and then Pixelate Returns are just going to be tearing holes in your team. But then you also have the Fire Blast and Hyper Voice set that tears through your team with Pixelate Hyper Voices, and again, you don't know how to prep for it. So I feel like having those two really good mixed attackers makes it just... It's really good, because the opponent's going to have a really difficult time prepping. Like the last team we said it'd be really easy for the teams to prep for, that's the opposite of the case in this team. Other mons he has, it kind of looks like what would happen if you just Googled a good Draft League Pokemon. Like, everyone knows Milotic is a good water type, and Jolteon's a good electric type. So it's just, it's just fundamentally good mons, Those two mons right there, they're kind of predictable. People know what they're going to be doing. But then he has the surprise factor in InferNathan and Mega Altaria. There's also Gliscor, which is a really great defogger, especially this gen. It has Toxic Heal and Defog. So, yeah, have fun breaking through that. Decidueye is a great Pokemon. Baton passing some swords dances, or just being an attacker itself. Has good bulk in order to switch in, set up, do what it needs to. It's another defogger. Registeel, again, great bulk, setting up rocks, doing what it needs to. One thing I noticed about this team is it has really good speed control, but to an extent it doesn't need it. Like, it has a Registeel, who's really great at spreading paralysis with Thunder Wave. It has Uxie, which, Trick Room. Has Leavanny for sticky webs. But then the Pokemon that would be abusing that, they kind of don't need it that much. Like, Jolteon's really fast, and InferNathan's fast enough. Mega Altaria benefits from it enough, but Uxie is what I really have the problem with. If I see Uxie, I'm assuming Trick Room and dual screens. And this team should not be operating under Trick Room whatsoever. I feel like, Mesprit would have worked better than Uxie there. Just for example, I don't know if the Mesprit was taken, or if he just really needed that slightly higher bulk. But Uxie, I feel, is the weak link in this team. There's also the issue of Alolan Persian being a Zmon, which I absolutely hate. Like, yeah, Z Parting Shot is good, but it's not the best. Like, I would have much preferred to see Nihilego have that just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
You know, Gigavolt Havoc, Acid Downpour. That's so much better. Those so much better options than just Z Parting Shot.
Yeah, so I guess I'll kind of sauce into other things. I probably would move this team up a little bit. The only thing I guess, because we said this before, did not take account into who's using this when giving it its rating. So I think in anyone's hands, this team wouldn't be great because people seem to usually bring, even though it is a versatile on, consistent InferNape or like Mega Altarius hits. I think MX will do a good job switching them around, keeping people guessing. But like, just InferNape has 104 of each attacks, which in this generation just like isn't, to me, it just isn't quite high enough. Like, it has that nice speed, so I guess if you want to, you can run like Specs, especially with how we've already talked about a lot of the teams are pretty slow. So you could probably run Specs or Bandit or Life Orb or whatever you need to. But it just doesn't hit, in my opinion, quite hard enough. And I didn't go, oh, this is MX's team, he's going to be switching a lot. I thought most people who have a versatile mon like those two run the, or even like Salamence, run the same set every week besides like 2. So yeah, that was my reason for this.
Yeah, I think if he does switch up his sets and he does keep the opponent on his toes, it's going to be one of the best teams. If not, it won't do good. You know, the main strong suit I see on this team is just the difficulty in prepping for it.
Yeah.
But obviously, if he doesn't follow through on that, you know, that's his own fault. Get good, hypothetical MX of the future.
Yes, because you weren't good enough last season, obviously, since you didn't win it all. Okay, with that, let's move into the next one. Hopefully pick up the pace a little bit. Holy crap. So next we have Jason Gallade. I gave this a B+. You gave it an A-. Do you want to hit this one first?
You should go ahead and do that. I hear people milling about outside and I might get interrupted.
Okay, sounds good. So, Jason Gallade, I do like this team. Kieran Black is a Z-Mon, extremely good. Togekiss is a very good one, I think. Mega Glalie is not great, but it did allow Jason to pick up things like... It basically... Jason's Mega isn't great, but it allowed Jason's free agents of Excadrill, Gengar, Gyarados, Heracross to be very solid free agents. Or not free agents, whatever they're called. The people you pick up out of tier. I just blanked out. Darmanitan hits extremely hard. It can be kind of a like same thing every week, but the good thing is it kind of benefits from League as it doesn't have as much of a 4 move slot syndrome since you know what to like bring for. It can just kind of be pretty predictable if they're bringing Scarf every week. Gigalith with Excadrill is pretty nice. It's very nice. And Hitmonlee, it's a very solid one. The only thing I can kind of see being a little bit of a problem is I guess I don't know all the new mons who got D-Powers. I guess he has Excadrill and Hitmonlee to both spin away. But just with things like Kirimbi, Togekiss, Darmanitan, Glalie, those getting hit by rocks will hurt quite a bit. I also don't understand Groddle, really. I guess other people probably do. I don't understand that mon. Picking it up on this team. Do you have anything to say about Jason's team?
Alright. Yeah, I didn't notice at first just how badly this team gets shredded by rocks. He does have removers in Hitmonlee and Excadrill and Togekiss. But, yeah, actually, that's quite a rock weakness. Groddle is there, but it's a grass type, which is a good defensive typing. It gets Eviolite, so it has that running for it. But, I feel like it suffers from the problem that most Pokemon do, where you can slap an Eviolite on it, but what's it going to do after taking all those hits? You know, I mentioned I like Servine earlier, That's because Turbine has contrary leaf storms, so that even while it's being defensive, it can be an offensive presence as well, and it's not just sitting there waiting for something to set up on it. So I don't feel like Groddle is an amazing pick. I think he gets Stealth Rocks, so maybe he needed a bulky, low-tier grass type with Stealth Rocks, and really didn't like Torterra.
Yeah, that's what I just don't get why I chose it over Torterra. I guess probably did need another rocker because especially weeks where Excadrill can do a lot offensively, you don't want to be bringing Stealth Rocks on Excadrill. Like if those help it sweep also, but
yeah, and plus the ground typing, giving it an immunity to residual damage from sand.
yeah.
There's also the problem that if you're going to be running Groddle defensively, you're going to be running Synthesis on it, and then Sand plus Synthesis is a bad combo.
Yeah. And
so yeah, change that Groddle out and make it a Torterra, please.
Well, and another problem I find with that is like just defensively. If you want that thing to be defensive, it doesn't. It's not like it has insanely high defenses. So if it's getting hit by ice type moves, it's not gonna. It just isn't gonna. It has. I'm just looking at it really quick. It's just not gonna eat up even like HP ices or any ice type move. Like some.
Actually, you'd be surprised. It's not gonna have like chancy levels of bulk, but it's bulky.
Yeah, because it has 75 base HP, 85 defense, and 65 special defense. Multiply that all by 1.5, or not all, but the defenses. So like that.
Well, when you're multiplying the stat, it doesn't. The mathematics doesn't work out so that you're multiplying the base stat.
Yeah,
so
because it's the. But I'm just thinking like in general, like mons that are. So yeah, like I can kind of see, but as you said, like synthesis plus sand isn't gonna work great. But maybe if sand's up, Excadrill is gonna be in because the rocks just allow it to sweep the entire team. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like Heracross on this team. I don't see much what it does. If you're using it offensively, I feel like Hitmonlee just does the job better. And I don't know why you would use defensive Heracross.
And even to an extent, like, I guess maybe if you're running Dual Scarf, but, like, I think Darmanitan also, of just being that thing that hits a Choice Scarfer who just hits extremely hard, I think Darmanitan does that job better. So Heracross is kind of in that weird place of...
I mean, maybe he needed a bug type, but if I was him, I might have gone with something like a Scavalier and then gotten a higher tiered grass type.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe there's some. Maybe Jason just really likes Heracross. I don't know. Like sometimes, there's like those weird low tier mons that people just know how to use extremely well. Like, it's not a super low, but like one of my favorite mons, kind of talked about earlier, was Serena. Like, or is that how you say it?
Serena.
Yeah. Like, I've just done very well with that in leagues. It has done like a lot utility or offensively for me, so like I'll pick that up a lot, and people will be like, "Really, you're picking that one up?" Especially like sometimes I'll pick it up a little earlier because I really want it. But so maybe that's what Heracross is. Also, could be. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun mon. Can't complain. Yeah, that's about all my thoughts on this team.
Yep. So we'll move on. Next we have Sky. So I gave this a B. A B is kind of like, he has Lando T, which is good, very good. Has Mega Venusaur, which is also extremely good, won MVP last season. Starmie is obviously a good mon. Porygon 2 is a great wall, especially for tier 3. Lucario is another one of those ones to me that it can be run both ways, but if people just kind of get predictable with it, isn't the greatest just because it has good stats if you're switching between physical and special and people don't know what you're going to bring and then they bring the wrong one. But if you're running the same one, it just doesn't have quite high enough attack stats usually to me to quite make that work. And like overall, it's kind of like Lando T obviously really good, Mega Venusaur. I just don't know if this team really has like the unity or really gets the help out of Lando Team Venusaur that some of the other teams would get.
Yeah, you said Lucario. I know I was talking a lot about changing up your sets and being diverse and unpredictable, but I fully admit every time I have Lucario in a league, I just run Choice Band every week. It doesn't have the best stats. Power creep is a bitch, but are we allowed to swear on the VTID?
I don't know. The
We're
others
keeping
do.
this
I think.
family
I
friendly.
think. I think. I think everyone does. I don't
But yeah, obviously power creep does kind of screw over some of the older mons, which feels weird to say a Gen 4 mon is old.
know. Yeah.
Uh, but Lucario can definitely hit hard. It got Meteor Mash this generation, so get an attack boost and go to town. Don't have to run Iron Tail on it, thank God.
Yeah.
So I mean, it can definitely be good. I feel like it's not as good of a mixed attacker simply because for Steel Stab you're going to be relying on Flash Cannon, which isn't as good as Iron Tail or Meteor Mash.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Um,
I want to talk about Regice real quick. That Pokemon is garbage. It serves no purpose on this team. It is so bad. I hate it. Please get rid of it.
I was actually kind of bring that thing up is I feel like Regice, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it either. Ice type just defensively is not a great or even good typing. I get that it has a really high special defense, but still.
It has 50 HP. It's not doing anything with that special defense.
Yeah, one thing I wrote down is Sky had 20 points left over, which doesn't seem like that much, but that's I don't know exactly where all of the tiers or all of the mons he brought in as like his extras were, but I think that Sky could have used one of the lower tier mons that he picked up and put it in instead of Regice, and then use those extra 20 points to get something in a higher tier that would have benefited. Or even if didn't do that, just getting something, because a lot of like I don't get Lucario and Metagross. I just don't. I think that getting something in a higher tier for like one of these mons could have been very helpful.
Yeah, I think he wanted Lucario for the fighting type mostly, which I definitely commend that. That's a good fighting type. I find myself wanting to use it a lot, but never drafting it because it's the second steel type. But I think Sky in the off season had Lapras, and I trash talk Lapras. So maybe he's just drafting bad ice types to trigger me or something.
Yeah, one thing I remember noticing this earlier that just points out is just look at what is it called, the mons that they picked up with points.
The Fremons?
Yeah, look at Sky's free mons and look what ground type does to them. And it's kind of Sky's team, like it does not like has Rotom H, which unless they have like Mold Break or something, can deal with ground types, and Lando T, which can deal with them. But they often run like a rock move. Besides kind of Mega Venusaur, if you run just like a ground and a rock move, it just hurts his Sky's team so much. 4 mons, like all 4 of his free mons are all weak to ground, I think.
Yeah, I don't want to say too much, but Sandrush Excadrill with a little bit of certain tech just 6-0s this entire team.
Yep.
I don't want to reveal what that tech is, but because obviously I don't want to spoilers for that battle. But leave it in the comments what you think that tech is, and I'll give you 15 points if you get it right.
Those points get you nothing, but you'll get 15 points from the analyst. Yeah, that's actually exactly what the mon I was thinking about is I'm like, he weakens Venusaur. Does not really like an Excadrill.
Yeah, because Sandrush Excadrill just will screw over Venusaur because it can't recover as well in the sand.
Yeah, just once he has a weekend. But yeah, so that's why I gave it a B. Maybe I'd even go a little lower. I really like Mega Venusaur's a phenomenal. Lando T's phenomenal. Starmie's very good. Porygon 2 is very good. So like, it's just like a pretty average team to me.
I like Skuntank. That's a good Pokemon.
Yeah, I heard people like talking about how it dropped so low. Like, how did it drop so low or late? But yeah, so I think with that we can move on to the next one, who is Nuno. I forgot. We kind of hit like 3 in a row here that are just. Anyways, do you want to start with this one?
This team kind of well. I don't know how you can complain about this team. It is really, really good. Tapu Koko and Hawlucha, that alone is enough to sweep some teams. Mega Aggron is a great wall if you know how to use it. Hit me up. I'll help you build your Mega Aggron sets. Mew, so unpredictable, one of the best mons in the format. Mamoswine just seems to fuck over every team, like, ever. You gotta play it correctly. Its slow speed does hinder it, but it's still such an amazing offensive presence. Umbreon, great cleric. Dredigon, underrated dragon, really good. Roserade is great for hazards. Delphox isn't bad. Not much to say about Delphox. I don't like Delphox, but it's a good Pokemon. Clawitzer, I feel could have been a fun pick, if you had extra points and another water type. But Clawitzer being your sole water type, I don't like, which is if you had a better water type here, I'm talking directly to Nuno now. But if Nuno had a better water type, I definitely would have rated this team an A+. It's just I feel like water is such an important and vital type to a draft team that having such a kind of bad Pokemon, to put it bluntly, as your water type just really holds you back a lot.
Okay, I'll go over why I gave it a B. I agree. Tapu Koko, Hawlucha, those two together, absolutely phenomenal. Can absolutely sweep teams. I remember when Hawlucha and Circuitry were UU, those two were just running around and just destroying people with the electric train and then the berry. And then, as you said, Mew is one of, if not the best mons in League. I don't know how it wasn't drafted the first round. It was one of the best mons last year. But outside of that, I don't like this team quite as much. And even, to me, Hawlucha is pretty good on its own, but not quite as good. And I'm assuming Tapu Koko is going to come every week because it's a phenomenal mon. But still, Mega Aggron, I'm kind of a slightly... I like it, but just not getting, recovery and stuff. It's... To me, it struggles, at least if someone's able to kind of... I can see Nuno's team doing kind of bad if a game goes long, because Aggron will get weakened and can't recover. Hawlucha might pop the Unburden, but then have to switch out or something, and you lose Hawlucha. Mamoswine, to me, is solid, but as you said, you have to work around it. And I remember, in the GBA, there were multiple weeks where people were like, oh, Mamoswine 100% wins this game, is definitely going to be the top killer. And it just doesn't usually quite meet expectations. And then I do like Delphox. I've used that effectively, but Dredigon, I'm not as big of a fan of, or Roserade. To me, it's those big three of Tapu Koko plus Hawlucha, and Mew that are good, but then the rest of it kind of leaves a little, to me. And I guess another problem I do have with this is Nuno had 40 points left over. So as you said, with Klotzer, you don't like it?
Oh, yeah, get a better water type. What are you doing?
Yeah, had 40 points left over. So there's, even just, one mod with, those 40 points could have just come up, kind of, completely changed it for me. And it didn't. Okay.
Yawn there.
So, yeah, that's why I have it a little lower. I don't know. I'm huge fans of Tapu Koko on this team is a great mon that just it comes at Rex House. It doesn't really need much to help it get going. As we've talked about, it's the superstar of this team. And Mew is absolutely phenomenal. Impossible. It's just a pain to work around. You never know what it's gonna have. Hawlucha can do a lot to work against many teams. But yeah, just outside of those three, it's just a little lackluster to me.
Yeah, what you said about Aggron not having recovery, that's a fair point.
Oh.
Aggron's biggest flaw is the lack of recovery. But he also has Umbreon, which is one of the best clerics in the game. So I feel like it kind of mitigates that flaw.
Yeah, that could help quite a bit with Aggron if just wish passing it.
And one thing Aggron is really, really good at is eliminating other teams like superstars. You know, like Victini, for instance. A good Aggron set can eat up a blue flare, eat up a V create, with the same EV spread, and then kill it back with a metal burst. You got to be really careful when playing around Aggron because a lot of people don't see the metal burst coming, but it's such a good tech.
Yeah, and like heavy
Plus,
sense.
when you're building with Aggron, sometimes you gotta like lower your defense with like a defense lowering nature in order to get those metal burst kills. And when you craft a set like that, you feel like Albert Einstein, and that's so moralizing. You feel so good after making that set, and confidence is key.
Yeah, I will agree that because some of like the big walls issues are that like they kind of get set up, and Aggron has 140 base attack plus filter, which is a great ability. Um, but yeah, I can just see this team having. To me, as I said, like it's a lackluster. Aggron in some games can be absolutely phenomenal, but then some other ones is just to me. That's in my opinion, though.
Yeah, this team is a bit slow, other than Tapu Koko and Hawlucha. So there's that. There's one thing.
Yeah, it's another one of those teams, especially if you take into account Halucha's on Burden boost, which I don't know if people will. There's a very, I guess Mew is 100, but like there's a pretty big gap between Mew and then the next, like Mew on each sides. There's pretty big gaps around.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we just move
I
on?
still think this team is really great. Just get rid of Klotzer, please.
Yeah. I think we should just move on. We've been on this team for a hot minute. But yeah, I guess I could give it just with Tepco and Hawlucha could go higher. It could get like a B plus on the edge of an A minus. But yeah, as I said, to me, it's just kind of a little lackluster in some spots. So with that, we'll move on to Wolf. I guess I'll start. I'm just not a huge fan of this team, honestly. Tornadus, I think, is a very good mon, especially as on this team as a Z-mon, I think is very good. Azelf is one that it seems like it'd be good. It has like a super good like move pool and stuff, but in my experience, just in League, it just doesn't live up to what you expect it to be. Tangrowth is obviously very good, especially as a tier 3. I think that's very good, and Nidoqueen is. I really like Miltank, honestly. I think he might have swapped it out, but Miltank, obviously, is absolutely phenomenal as a wall, especially with how fast it is. But the right side here is where I run into a problem. Has Mega Sharpedo, which was like a tier 4 Mega, which gives you like, what was it, 60 extra points? And Wolf did not use that. Wolf had 60 points left over. Picked up Klefki, Haxorus, Emboar, and Galvantula, which like are all decent ones, but could have used those 60 points to pick up something far better than like some of those mons. And that's like the biggest problem I have with this team, is it's another one to me that's just kind of lackluster, or pretty lackluster, but mostly just like those 60 points. Even if it wasn't just into one mon, like upgrading each of those mons just slightly could have done so much for this team. And it just kind of annoys me that Wolf picked up Mega Sharpedo, got a ton of points for picking up Sharpedo, and then didn't really use them.
Yeah, now that you talk about that, I feel like maybe a B minus would have been a more appropriate rank for this team. There's a lot of good mons here, but I'm failing to see the unity. Galvantula with the sticky web support is obviously great for Nidoqueen and Emboar. Those are great hard-hitting mons that are just held back by their speed tier. And obviously the speed control that's given by sticky webs helps that out tremendously. But beyond that, I just feel like this is a collection of good Pokemon. I don't see a true Fairy Dragon Steel Core. Like there's Haxorus and Klefki, which I guess you could technically say it's a Fairy Dragon Steel Core.
Trust me, I've tried it before. It doesn't work. One season I had freaking Mega Altaria, and I had a Volcanion. It makes it, having those mons makes it very hard to do the whole core, especially if you try to use them as two. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Plus, I just don't like Klefki. I feel like it's really disappointing in League. Like, you'll get your spikes up. You won't do anything else with the Mon.
Yeah, because like utility mons in League, you have to be able to do something else. Like some walls work out if they're just walls, but honestly, like even your walls, you usually want to be able to kind of hit back or like do something else with. Klefki, while it has a lot of utility and stuff, like with freaking like a light clay set, you know, like it can do a decent amount, but it just that's like the big one I was thinking about that could have definitely upgraded. I do really like Galvantula. I think that's a good choice, but this Mon, to me, it's a collection, as you kind of said, like good Mons, especially for the tiers, but it's like not great Mons, in my opinion.
You know what he could have done is, I think to really improve this team, instead of Galvantula as a sticky web user, have Slurpuff. And then you have a different steel type instead of Klefki for getting up spikes. And then replace maybe Ditto or Miltank. I know he already got rid of Miltank for Dusk Noir, which I don't see what Dusk Noir is doing to help this team out.
I think Miltank's are much better, but that's just me.
Yeah. So then, you know, replace Miltank with your electric type, and boom, this team is already so much better.
Yeah.
But as it stands right now, I really don't like Klefki.
Yeah, I guess I have two little things to add. So the first one, last season I did not like Wolf's team, and Wolf did quite well with it. Made playoffs, was like 4th in the league. Wolf did very well. Once again, I do not like Wolf's team, but we don't know. Like honestly, I think I gave this team like at first a B or a B minus. I'm not gonna lie, and then I saw that Wolf had 60 points left over, and I got really mad and dropped him 1 or 2. Just because like I just felt like could have done so much more.
Yeah, definitely. Last season, I actually did like Wolf's team. I feel like Wolf has the ability to draft good teams. I don't know why he dropped the ball so hard this time. But yeah.
Yeah, that was something I was going to point out. Seb has one of my favorite teams this year. Or not Seb, Zombie. Zombie was one of my favorite teams this year. Last year, Zombie had my second favorite team behind Arch. And started out strong. I was super hopeful, and then it kind of dropped. So hopefully that doesn't happen with Zombie again, too. Okay. Good thing is you also like Zombie's team, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So that's a better sign for me. So do you have anything else to say about Wolf?
Nope, I'd say we move on.
Yep. Next bit of Vesuvius, the Choke King himself. Get it? Because Choke King, like choking.
Oh my god, King. Okay. Alright, so we got Lastios right here. Who did that? Who did that, Raticake?
I was gonna point out that you should probably spell check like all of my slides, but I'm like, nah, let's just go for it.
I spell checked a couple of them.
Yeah, I saw you changing quite a few that I spelled wrong.
Anyway, Lastios is a pretty good Pokemon. I really like it as a Z user. Kegel, Havoc, Shattered Psyche, those are the two big ones, but it also has other great options. Stakataka, no idea why he chose that thing. Like, honestly, I criticize people a lot for having Weavile as their Z user, because I feel like it's a bit of a waste, but I honestly feel like it would have been better than Stakataka.
Yeah.
He has Chestnut. Chestnut is one of my favorite grass types. Gets up spikes. It's a really good bulky Pokemon. It also has the Belly Drum option with a Salic Berry. That's one of my favorite sets. Snorlax is one of my favorite Pokemon for Draft League. It's just so bulky and it hits pretty hard as well. Sylveon is, in my opinion, one of, if not the best fairy types in draft format. I don't like Mega Blastoise. Not at all. Like, I actually really dislike Mega Blastoise, but I won't deny that it's good and it hits hard. So if you put it to good use, obviously it'll do good. Dugtrio, fantastic for trapping. I feel trapping is so useful. Like, it's so useful in draft format. Because it's so good to just get rid of a big threat your opponent has. Like, oh man, Raikou tears my team apart. Not anymore because I have Dugtrio. Actually, Dugtrio should have been your Z user. Dugtrio's a great Z user.
Yeah.
He also has Venomoth. Venomoth isn't good. It's really not. Like, it has Quiver Dance, and anything with Quiver Dance has potential to sweep and be good. But I find Venomoth has a lot of trouble setting up those Quiver Dances. There's also Electabuzz, which is a very solid electric type. Typhlosion. Typhlosion is a really good fire type. It's not the best. I used to play a lot of NU back in Gen 6, and before it was banned, Typhlosion was crazy good. So, yeah, I'm a fan of seeing that. So I feel like this team does have a lot of good things going for it, and it does seem to function well. There's just a couple flaws that held me back from giving it my A+, because I only wanted to give out one of those. But other than that, I feel like it's easily one of the best teams in this league.
Yeah, looking at it, I have no idea why I gave it a B. I'm going to be completely honest. I like this team quite a bit, and I'd probably give it like an A-. As you said, Latios. I think that would be like the Z-Mon, basically. Actually, Stack Attacker does have really high attack, so I could see like once or twice bringing that thing, and then just surprising someone with like a Z move and obliterating them. I think because it has kind of similar stats to Mega Aggron, I'd say. However, depending on how you view it, I don't think it has quite as good of an ability, at least if you're gonna be like a thick boy. And then also its typing is pretty bad. 4 times weak to ground and fighting, which are 2 very prominent types. I'm not a huge fan of that. Sylveon, as he says, good. Snorlax is very good. Weavile, I think it has its uses. I've kind of talked about this with some of the other mons that they moved up. I think they're better tier 1 mons, but I think on this team it actually fits pretty well, because I usually like don't think Weavile is worth it, but in this team I can kind of see it. I also don't know what was left at the time that Vesuvius drafted it. Mega Blastoise, on the other hand, I am a huge fan of, especially in League, because I'd say in normally playing, Mega Blastoise has a terrible case of like 4 move slot syndrome, whereas in League, when you know what your opponent has, I think it's absolutely phenomenal, because it has a pretty good move pool that when you know what they're bringing, it can really just take on tons of their team. One thing I guess this team could use, in my opinion, it does have Sylveon, but like having a really good Wish Passer for Mega Blastoise is extremely good, and I think that could be helpful for Stack Attacker too. Yeah, Stack Attacker too. Sorry, no, there's someone sitting next to me, and they're laughing at how dumb I am for laughing at that. But yeah, I'd probably give this team actually like an A- or B+, because I like it quite a bit. I think Latios is
one thing I want to mention is, on second review of this team, it is begging for Trick Room. And yet his only Trick Room setter is Stack Attacker. And I don't like Trick Room Stack Attacker because I don't like mons that set up their own Trick Room, because that makes them vulnerable to just being killed. And with Stack Attacker having 2 4 times weaknesses, that's just too easy for it to happen. So I would have liked to see a Cresselia on this team. I don't know if he got sniped out of Cresselia, which seems very possible. But like Trick Room Sylveon, like Spec Sylveon under Trick Room, that could blow things away. Blastoise under Trick Room, even a Belly Drum Snorlax under Trick Room, Jesus Christ.
Even a Curse Snorlax under, like at +1, and then it'll outspeed, kill some things, and then once Trick Room's over, it's a thick boy. I think Venomoth could be switched out for like a better Trick Roomer, or something. I don't think we've seen Cresselia yet, because I think I would have pointed it out. So if we don't see it in one of like the next ones, I could definitely see Vesuvius swapping out something for, or just like for, as you said, like a better Trick Roomer. between Venomoth, even Electabuzz, I think one of those two could really be swapped out for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, even if it's not Cresselia, if it's just, even Carbink.
And weren't you saying, like, Mesprit might still be around somewhere?
Yeah, I think Mesprit is definitely not drafted. I don't know if it gets Trick Room, though, off the top of my head.
Oh, yeah. I know some of
It wouldn't surprise me if it did.
Yeah, because that thing's not. But anyways, yeah. So that's why I'd probably give this team, like, maybe a B+, because it has, like, Latios, which is pretty fast, but it definitely is hurting. And Weavile, obviously, which is fast, but it's kind of hurting a little bit in the high-speed mons, or speed tiers. But, like, overall, I think it's a pretty solid team. Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'd probably give it B+, A- range. Not going to confirm, because honestly, I have no idea why I gave it a B. I heard you talking, I'm like, why did I give this team a B? Okay, so I think with that we can move on, because holy crap, this video's long.
Oh, yeah. Hey, everyone who's still watching, pat yourself on the back.
At 85 minutes in.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so Zebstrika for Ubers is the next one. I gave it a B+. You gave it an A+.
This is my pick to win.
I like to say I didn't give anyone an A+ because there were no teams that I felt like Nathan's I was pretty close to, Zombies I was pretty close to, but to me they were both just slightly missing something to quite give it the plus. I probably would have given it to Zombie, but yeah, they were both just slightly missing something. Because Nathan's is probably the team I'd like to have most, but I don't think it was the most complete team. Anyways, Zebstrika, you can start out with this one, because you gave it the...
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. So maybe it would have been smarter to give Vesuvius the A+ instead of this one. But when I was doing these rankings, I don't know, I just felt drawn to this team. Like, this is the one that screamed A+ material. And I think what really does it for me is the combination of Celesteela and Florges, because that is unholy levels of bulk. I feel bad for anyone who wants to take down that core. Like, good luck, you're gonna need it. And the rest of his mons are just all really, really good. Megalopunny, it's a Pokemon I'm not a fan of, but it's good. It's undeniably good. Rotom Wash, hard to break through. Only having the one weakness, it's really annoying to play around, spreading Will-O-Wisp, and even pulling off a choice set, like Choice Scarf. There's Trick, gets Defog, it's a really good Defogger. There's Alakazam, great Psychic type, fast, hits hard, great coverage, scary mon to deal with. Swallow, super fast, but really, really fast. And since we have a lot of slow teams, that thing's going to have an easy time running Modest, or Adamant, because Physical Swallow is a thing. No, Physical Swallow is a thing. It's good. I just always run Special, because I like Boom Burst. That's a good move. There's Kyurem, Scarf, Specs. I feel like Kyurem, from my experience in dealing with it in the past, is when you're prepping for Kyurem, the dichotomy between Scarf and Specs is really noticeable. Because it has that 95 speed tier, you automatically think, oh, it's going to run Scarf and outspeed my whole team. Okay, let me prep for this. And then you go to do your calcs against Specs just to be safe, and you realize, wait, if this thing is Specs, it runs through my team. So you go to rework your team for Specs, and then you find that Scarf is destroying you. And it's just, those two sets alone are really hard to prep for both of them. And it's like what I was talking about earlier with InferNathan and Altaria. If you prep for the wrong one, you're screwed, and you're just going to lose. So Kyurem's a really scary Pokemon in that regard. Having access to Z moves is never a bad thing. Unless you're Sneasel, which is standing right next to it, because I don't know why you would give Sneasel your Z Crystal when Celesteela is sitting right there.
I was going to say the same thing.
I don't know why he made that decision. Maybe he has some secret Sneasel tech that I just don't know about. But Celesteela just seems like the obvious and the better choice. Donphan is a Pokemon that's just super, super bulky, has rocks, has spin, great offensive stats. I love running in Assault Vest just to capitalize on that bulk and that offense. Along the Marowak, Great Pokemon, Rockhead with Flare Blitz and the Thick Club. That'll tear through teams that aren't prepared. Lightning Rod to switch in on electric types for free. Again, great set. Yeah, just a lot of great Pokemon are all compounded onto this team, and they work really well together. I haven't talked about Tangela, but there's not much to Tangela. It's bulky. But yeah, I just feel like there's so many good Pokemons. There's so many good Pokemon on this team that it's difficult to find criticism in it, other than the Z user choice. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. It's just such a good team.
Yeah, I gave this a B plus just because looking at it, Kyurem is one that I agree it's a very good one. I do like that as a Z user, thinking back to the team I've talked about a lot that did pretty well. I had a Kyurem, I never ran Z, but yeah, like Scarf just outspeeds so much. And like the thing is, Specs absolutely destroys people, but it doesn't need Specs to absolutely destroy people, especially with the slow teams. If you could run like a modest Scarf, that would do so much work. But then also, since there are so many slow teams, you don't need to run the really slow one. And yeah, I really like that. Celestial, obviously, it won offensive MVP last year. That's weird to say. I think that would have been a better Zmon, as you said, because I think that would have just really helped Celestial sweep if you can set up like a speed boost and then had a Z move to clinch that first knockout and get that first like special attack or attack boost. I think would be absolutely like phenomenal and just make it such a phenomenal like sweeping mod. But it didn't. Mega Lopunny I feel like is a good non-thinking one, kind of, so to say. You can kind of bring it most weeks and it kind of will just hurt quite a bit, and it can kind of sweep. And Florges, as you said, you like it, I love it. I have 6-0'd people with that thing because Calm Mind. Like, if Fairy's good against someone, you can just run like a Calm Mind with Aromatherapy and Synthesis, and it just does so much work. Road and Wash obviously is an absolutely pain to deal with, especially now that it got Defog. I think that's absolutely phenomenal for that thing, and we'll just like this team. Kyurem's kind of weak. I guess Kyurem and Sneasel are both kind of weak to them, and Swallow. But like overall, this team isn't too worried about them. But having Defog would be really nice. Plus having Downfan as a spinner. Just looking at, I don't see why he has 2 ice types as his Emons. I'm still just kind of confused by that too.
Yeah, like if word of advice, if you're Zeb watching this, drop Sneasel. You don't need are we allowed to drop Z users? I don't know. I don't know the rules. If you can, drop Sneasel, and yeah, that's the one flaw I will say on your team.
Well, Sneasel, I know last season was absolutely phenomenal, like as a mon itself. So if you can just switch the Z move to Celestial, I think that'd be a good move, because I think that was I think Sneasel was Archfiend's leading like killer last season, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it can definitely do things.
Yeah.
I'm running out of things to say.
Yeah.
Oh god.
No, that's probably fine, because this is a very long video, so we probably are fine.
Yeah. Sneasel definitely isn't useless, but I feel it's the weakest link on a very solid team.
Yeah. I think it just adds a little priority and speed to a otherwise, besides like Mega Lopunny, pretty slow, I guess, team. Like,
how are you gonna call this team slow when Alakazam and Swellow are right there?
Oh yeah, I kind of glanced down the left side and then the top of the right side and didn't really look at those two. But I don't know. I just think that it adds like a little nice priority to this team. I see the point of Sneasel. I just don't see the point of it as a Z-Mon.
Yeah.
But maybe get some like weird Z moves. I don't know. I didn't really watch the off season or whatever, so I didn't see what some of these new coaches have done and like maybe what they're thinking with it. But that's why I gave it a B plus. There's some things like Marowak. I'm not a huge Marowak. In leagues, I'm just not a huge fan of it. And then the Sneasel kind of annoyed me. Okay. So with that, move on to the next one, which is the last one.
This is the last one. Woo!
I almost gave you an F, Luke, for one thing in particular. I almost gave you an F for your Zemon Rufflet. I get that, like, looking at his team, almost all the time it'd be Z Zygarde. But, like, I don't know, maybe Blaziken could have benefited from that. Maybe. Honestly, like, Zygarde, I can kind of see why, for the memes, he made Rufflet it, because I think it's just going to be kind of Zygarde is, like, by far the best one on his team. I just don't like that. But I did end up giving it a B-. That angered me, so I definitely lowered it a little. Also, this team just in general. Zygarde is an absolutely phenomenal mon. Mega Gyarados is an actually phenomenal mon. But they kind of do very similar things, which is kind of a downside. Reuniclus is very good. Another nice bulky setup mon that is hard to kill. But this team in general, it just... I don't know, like, it definitely, the top two mons on their own are what gave it, like, the B-. Without those teams, I'm not a huge fan. Valley, it's good being able to switch everything, but it doesn't ever quite seem to have just, like, a huge impact on games, especially for a tier 2 mon that some of the other ones could have. Especially when you have the wheel, so you're often getting some of the first tier 2 mons, like, possibly picking up, like, Feeny, unless they picked up Tapu Fini first round. I do really like Alolan Ninetales with Zygarde. However, I feel like Alolan Ninetales is kind of like a one-trick pony, so to say, or whatever they call it. And then, just, yeah, this team, it just kind of puts me off a little besides... Really, Zygarde is, like, the main thing. Mega Gyarados is very good, but it does similar things usually to Zygarde just to set up often Dragon Dance Sweeper. And, yeah, I honestly might move this one to also Z Rufflet. Fuck you. I hate that. I was ready to give you the F.
What I like about this team is the Fairy Dragon Steel Core of Ninetales, Alola, Skarmory, and Zygarde is really good, a lot better than you might think on an initial glance over, because Aurora Veil is great for helping Zygarde set up Dragon Dances, and Skarmory is, in my opinion, one of the best support mons, if not the best support mon, simply because of Spikes, Stealth Rocks, Roost, Defog. I find it's extremely reliable in, dealing with hazards, whether it be getting them up or getting them away. And that's just great for Zygarde, who doesn't want to have to set up to +6 in order to sweep. Like, I know that's an exaggeration, but it's a 100 base attack can be really underwhelming at times, and having great hazard support in Skarmory helps it out so much. And the same can be said for Mega Gyarados, it helps set up those Dragon Dance sweeps. And those 4 mons alone, I feel, are enough to justify a fairly decent rank for this team. You said Silvally and Reuniclus are good Pokemon, which I completely agree. Silvally's really nice to have. It makes your prep a lot easier. Amoonguss is a great grass type. Regenerator is probably my favorite ability. It's just so good. Heliolisk is a Pokemon that's just really fun. It's surprisingly good. It's fun to use, and it's surprisingly good. It puts in a lot of work. With a fairly good speed tier, good enough special attack, great coverage with Surf, Focus Blast, Stab, Hyper Voice, Electric moves, Hidden Power Ice. It's really good. I really, really like the Heliolisk as an electric type. Blaziken, I honestly don't think I've seen it do much, like, ever.
Yeah, because one thing I like to put on it, this is just a normal Blaziken. The Greninja earlier was also just torn, like this Blaziken. It just has, like, I guess I'm kind of interrupting you, but, like, one of the things I noticed about this team is, like, pre-setup, this team is extremely slow. It has Heliolisk and Alolan Ninetales, but, like, it's a very slow team pre-setup, so luckily it has Alolan Ninetales helps so much with setting up. But like if people can shut that down, I think it's just gonna struggle a lot.
Yeah, Chimecho, I don't know why that thing's there. It gets defog, I think, but yeah. And then there's Rufflet. Rufflet's obviously a meme pick. I want to say Chimecho's a meme pick as well, but I know Rufflet's like actually an established meme, so...
Oh yeah, sorry, one thing I was gonna say, so looking at your team, especially your last two picks, especially Z Rufflet, I think there's a reason Luke did not do well last year, just putting it out. How many wins did he have? I mean, sure, he absolutely destroyed Wolf, but...
He had a great team last season, though.
Exactly. I'm just saying, I don't know how this season... Actually, I did not like his team last season. I know others loved it. I was not a huge fan, but... I'm sorry, I have to give shit to him just because of Z Rufflet.
I feel like this is a case of trying too hard to meme without covering your bases first.
Yeah.
You know, he got cheeky with the Rufflet and cheeky with the Chimecho, but what does he have to back it up?
Yeah. I guess one thing I was going to point out, I do think that Amoonguss was an absolute, especially how late Luke got it, was an absolute steal for tier 3. Like, that thing is a pain in the butt. It's awful. That thing is cancerous.
Yeah. Oh, Spore. Enough said.
Yeah, Spore.
I think we should wrap it up there, though. It's the last team. We've been going for quite some time.
just a
no
couple.
one's gonna watch this whole thing.
If you watch this whole thing, why?
Okay.
It's over 100 minutes.
If you watch the whole thing, comment antelopes, and I'll give you a lollipop. You gotta come find me. Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, like this year, I honestly think there's not quite the gap in teams, which I guess maybe there wasn't last year, but there were some teams like I really didn't like. Like I don't really like Wolf's team. I don't like Luke's team that much. But like I feel like there's not. Okay, maybe there's not like any just absolutely awful teams because either teams have like a superstar that could possibly carry them, like in my opinion, this team here, like Zygarde can carry a team, or they're just like overall solid with no real great one. Like I'm talking about the lower teams, and then there are some really good teams, but I don't think there's in my mind quite like Arch's team last year. That was a really good, just like complete team. I think all of them are just kind of missing something, whether it's some speed, some bulk, something like that. And so I think it'll make it really interesting this season because there's a lot of different styles of teams, and so seeing them going up against each other should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting to look at the teams because, like, for most of the time the draft was going on, I pretty much ignored it. I didn't look at what was being drafted. But looking at, like, the completed products, it's interesting, you know? None of these teams look super conventional, and I think I like that. So I'm looking forward to seeing what everyone can do. Good luck to all the coaches and competitors. Those are just our thoughts on our draft. If you hate what we said, good.
Luke, if you don't bring Z Rufflet one game, you're a fake memer and a fucking pussy. Sorry, ballsack. He's a ballsack. Because pussies can take a beating, ball sacks are sensitive and gross. Anyways, with that...
Good night, everyone.
We'll end it.